All right, guys, wherever you are, whatever time it is, I want to personally thank you for taking the time out to learn about life insurance with me. My name is Brian Sutton. I'm your life insurance agent, and I'm the owner, the proud owner of Provision Insurance LLC. Okay, so why is life insurance important? Life insurance is important because it covers final expenses, debts, and income replacement. Essentially, it ensures your loved ones are financially protected, and it allows you to leave a legacy, not stress. Now, if you don't have life insurance already, I always advise people to go with term life insurance first. Why? Because it's the most simple to get started and the quickest, and also most affordable. Term life insurance has the lowest cost for the highest coverage. It's simple and straightforward with fixed terms like 10, 20, or 30 years. So typically, if you're 40 years old right now, you can find a 30-year policy without no problem. The biggest thing that term life insurance covers is it's great for income protection. It covers mortgage, debts, and family needs. Now, if you have a family, you understand the cost, the monthly cost, the yearly cost, the decade of cost that occurs no matter what. Your home it's typically one of the biggest purchases we all make. If you were to pass away, there needs to be a plan in place to how that mortgage is going to be taken care of, how your husband or wife is going to stay in that home with those kids and be able to manage the debts and all the family needs. Some people look at this as mortgage protection, but in addition to that, it's all the things that your family needs to move forward, because we know regardless, whenever we have our homecoming, life and our family will have to move on forward. You don't want them to be moving on with stress, continued stress that makes their lives even harder. And the other good thing about term life insurance is we can convert it later. Like I said, this is the quickest life insurance that we can get started with, and it covers everything about your life. And once you do have that type of insurance, we can then look at whole life or IULs in the future. A few slides later in this presentation, we'll go over what whole life is or what an IUL is. But nonetheless, let's move forward. This statement right here is a true statement from me. Grieving plus financial stress is not good for anyone. I can't think of a time when my family can benefit from stressing about my passing. There's not one thing that I think can happen except for maybe making them somehow grow up quicker, or I don't know. I can flip it to some good measure, but at the end of the day, I don't want them to be stressed after I pass away. And to be fully transparent, I'm 38 years old, and I actually didn't have life insurance until when I became a life insurance agent. That was my cue to go ahead and get on board and make sure we are good in my household. And it made me think of this simple statement: grieving plus financial stress is not good for anyone. So what happens if you don't have life insurance? The funeral cost is going to hit you straight out the gate. It says I put 8 to 12,000 here, but from my personal situations that I've seen, ours was more than 12,000. It was actually around 13,000. Now that does not include the unpaid debts. Any unpaid debts that can't essentially go away with the person will get passed to the family. One typical debt is the taxes for property. Whatever property you have, those taxes will have to be paid in order to be passed on to the family, or any of the legal type of fees or anything that is encompassed within your estate to have it legally passed to you. And then whatever income you were bringing into the house is no longer there. So you have to factor that in as well. One thing I did for me was looked at what's going to happen in the next 10 years. The next 10 years, I have no income that I'm going to be able to put to my family. That's the biggest thing. So I don't want them to spend the next 10 years in a place of struggle because I didn't leave anything. I want them to be able to grieve and look up a decade later and understand that their dad passed away, but he left a legacy and he left a means for us to move on as if he was still here. So instead of facing all that financial burden, it can be avoided with proper coverage. And as I mentioned earlier, whenever you do have term life insurance, that's when it's good to look at whole life or index universal life. Whole life insurance it gives you a lifetime coverage and it builds cash value. You're guaranteed for until you pass away, essentially. I think there's actually some limits like 110 years old, but I don't really know anybody that lives that long. But so essentially your whole life. And it builds cash value as you pay your premiums each month. A cash value grows with it, and you can take loans from it, or you can withdraw from it as well. And then with Index Universal Life, it's more complex. You can have flexible premiums, meaning you can adjust your payments within certain limits, and the policy can remain active as long as the cash value that you have accumulated, as long as the cash value covers those necessary costs, even if you underpay or skip a premium. And if you don't touch that cash value, that growth will be in your policy. So you'll have your face amount that, let's just say you did $500,000. You would get the $500,000 face amount plus the cash growth that is accumulated in the life of that loan. And the reason why you would want to convert is because the earlier you do, you lock in coverage while younger and healthier. Okay. Common myths versus truths. Myth number 1, I'm healthy. I don't need insurance. That is a way to look at it, but the truth is accidents and illnesses can happen unexpectedly, and that has no rhyme or reason for health or age. It's totally unexpected. Myth number 2, I can always get insurance later. Now that is true because you can get final expense insurance later on in life, but the costs increase with age, and your health condition can make you uninsurable at some point for term insurance. You can always get final expense insurance, but there's no way to really get final expense insurance for $500,000. It typically caps out at like $50,000, which is good as well, but you cannot get that insurance, that $500,000 policy, $250,000, or even $1 million or more. You can't get those as you get older. Myth number 3, term insurance is a waste of money. Now, let's look at it like this. Okay, if people are saying it's a waste of money, you pay for term insurance, and let's just say that $500,000. When you pass, when person 1 who has life insurance, they pass away, their family gets the $500,000. With person 2, that family is dependent on whatever they have in their bank account that can pay for the funeral and everything else that immediately happens, along with that next decade we're talking about, where your family has to grieve. You don't want them to be worried about how things are going to move forward, essentially leaving them with no vision. You want to leave them with a provision, pun intended right there. But again, the financial security that happens whenever you do pass away is there for your family when they need it the most. Okay? Myth number 4, I have coverage through my job, so I don't need additional life insurance. That's what I used to think too, until I realized that insurance through my job, or the job that I had back at that time, is nowhere near enough, and it does not follow you if you change jobs or retire. That's group life insurance, which is good, but it's typically used as an addition, not as the main core of how your family's going to move on after you're no longer here. Having your own policy ensures continuous, sufficient coverage. Okay? So again, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to learn about life insurance with me, Brian Sutton, your life and health insurance agent, licensed in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. And before we go, I do want to point out one major thing. I read this book by Mel Robbins called The 5-Minute Rule. And what it's about is when you have an idea, your brain will find ways after the 5 minutes, your brain will find ways to stop that idea from coming about. And the best advice I can give you, if you're watching this, you should take action today. Contact me today, because insurance is one of the few products that it can be too late to get. And it's too late when you've passed away and your family is left struggling and they have no peace of mind. You want to protect your family and give them peace of mind so that in the event when you do pass, you leave them with a legacy and not stress. So hit me up anywhere here, call or text, or you can send me an email and I'll respond ASAP, and let's find the right plan for you. My name is Brian Sutton. I hope to talk to you soon. It's Provision.